Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Future Way Next. We hope you're doing great. In an exclusive interview on February 13, 2025, Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre has laid out a bold vision for Canada's immigration policy reminiscent of the Stephen Harper era. Pierre's proposal aims to slash the annual intake of immigrants to around 250,000, aligning with Harper's numbers, while also promising swift deportations for those who break Canadian laws. This article explores the intricacies of Poilievre's strategy, its potential impact on Canada's housing market, legal system, and demographic landscape, alongside a detailed look back at immigration during Harper's tenure. Number 1. The current scenario. Canada's immigration policy has seen a significant increase in permanent resident admissions over the years, although targets for 2025 are now reduced from 500,000 to 395,000. Poilievre argues this rapid growth has fueled the ongoing housing crisis, where demand far exceeds supply, inflating housing prices and reducing accessibility. Number 2. Return to Harper-era immigration levels. Poilievre's plan echoes the immigration levels maintained during Stephen Harper's administration from 2006 to 2015. Harper's numbers. During Harper's tenure, Canada's annual immigration was generally between 200,000 and 250,000, which was consistent with the levels maintained over the previous 4 decades. Economic class. The focus was heavily on economic immigrants, with programs like the Canadian Experience class gaining prominence, which favored those already integrated into Canada's labour market. Family class. There was a noticeable shift towards reducing the number of family class immigrants, including a move towards super visas for parents and grandparents, which allowed visits but not permanent residency. Refugees. While the overall number of refugees remained comparable to previous governments, the approach was more selective, emphasizing private sponsorship over government-assisted programs. Proposed formula. Poilievre suggests a new immigration formula based on the previous year's home construction rates, aiming for a balance where the country does not import more people than it can house. Housing surplus. By reverting to lower immigration levels, Poilievre believes Canada could achieve a housing surplus in the next 4 years, helping to mend the current housing deficit. Real estate stabilization. With demand potentially reduced, the real estate market might see stabilization or even a decrease in property prices, making housing more accessible. Immediate action. Poilievre advocates for the deportation of non-citizens who commit crimes while in Canada on temporary visas, responding to incidents like those seen during pro-Hamas protests involving violence. Legal distinction. For crimes committed by Canadian citizens, he emphasizes prosecution within Canada's judicial system. Expedited deportations. A critique of the current system's inefficiency in deporting those with rejected asylum claims. Poilievre aims to expedite this process. Selective retention. While generally advocating for stricter controls, he recognizes the value of retaining some illegal immigrants who have integrated well, like skilled workers contributing to tech hubs such as Kitchener-Waterloo. Refugee policy overhaul. Last in, first out, inspired by efficiency drives. Poilievre proposes a system where the most recent arrivals have their claims processed first, reducing the window for false claims and thus, the backlog. Resource efficiency. This policy could lead to significant savings in public expenditure on legal proceedings, housing, and welfare for those whose claims are ultimately denied. Number 3. Economic, political and social implications. Sectors such as healthcare, construction and transportation have long faced challenges in sourcing enough workers. With the inclusion of roles such as truck drivers, plumbers and healthcare aides in the open work permit eligibility, workers in these industries now have clearer pathways to permanent residency. This shift not only addresses Canada's labor needs but also strengthens the workforce by labor market effects. Lower immigration might lead to short-term labor gaps unless domestic training or technological solutions are ramped up. Social dynamics. A reduction in new arrivals could change Canada's cultural landscape, potentially affecting diversity but also integration and community cohesion. Diverse opinions. The policy might find favor among those concerned with housing affordability and public safety, but critics could argue it narrows Canada's global appeal and humanitarian commitment. Public sentiment. Understanding public opinion through polls would be key, especially in light of housing concerns and community safety. Poilievre's immigration policy proposal seeks to recalibrate Canada's approach by returning to Harper-era levels, aiming to control population growth, manage housing, and ensure legal integrity. The success of this shift would depend on effective policy implementation, public acceptance, and the nuanced handling of economic and social changes. Number 4. In conclusion, Pierre Poilievre's plan. In conclusion, Pierre Poilievre's plan to cap immigration at Harper-era levels and enforce stricter deportation policies represents a significant pivot in Canadian immigration strategy. By aiming to balance population growth with housing availability, his approach seeks to address one of Canada's most pressing issues, the housing crisis. However, this strategy also raises questions about Canada's role as a welcoming nation to immigrants and refugees. The economic implications, particularly in sectors dependent on immigrant labor, must be carefully managed. While the return to a more controlled immigration model could stabilize communities, the social and cultural fabric of Canada might see shifts. Poilievre's proposal will likely spark a broad debate on the future of Canadian identity, economic policy, and social justice. The effectiveness of these policies will hinge on public support, economic outcomes, and the ability to integrate those already in Canada. As Canada stands at this crossroads, the coming years will test the resilience and adaptability of its immigration system. That is all for today in this video. What are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the entire video. Hopefully the information is useful to you. See you later in the next video. Till then, take care.